Hi guys, welcome to Colabiria. Welcome to our full Java course. For today's tutorial, we are going to write a program that compares two strings. So is what we are going to do within this tutorial. Let's get started. The first thing we usually do is to create our empty Java class. So we come here first and we create our empty Java class. Let's name it compare two strings and we say compare. And I always told you that following the syntax of Java programming language, you should always begin to name your class from an uppercase letter, not a lowercase. So it's very good within the Java syntax. Alright. Now that we have our empty Java class, we will close this, and the first thing before we write our code, we will include the libraries that we need because we need to do some apply some extra functions, entering information from the keyboard to be compared. So we need that permissions from the keyboard. So we will enter our library first. Okay, so we come here, we say scanner, let's say import, we say let's say java.util.scanner. Good. Alright, now that we have this, the next thing we want to do is to write our public static void main method. We say public static, we say void, and good. Alright, here we go. Now we are about to write our code. So the first thing we will do in writing our code is to do the declarations. So let's declare our data type. We say declare input. So we say strings. We are comparing two strings, right? So we say string and we represent string 1 as x1 and we say x2. So we have string 1 and string 2 have been declared. The next thing we want to do is to write our keyboard permissions. So we say scanner input equal new, let's say scanner, and we say system.in. Here we go. Alright, now that we have this, now let's write our output statement. We say system.out.println and we say enter the first string and let's say good. Now that we have user to enter the first string, so here we input our library. Here we input our library and this is the name of our class. We also have our public static void main method. We have our string 1 and string 2 being declared. We got the functions from the keyboard wherein we can enter some information from the keyboard. So at first when we run the program, this message will pop up, enter two strings, right? Enter the first string. So if user enter the first string, there should be something that should happen after then. So let's say user enter the first string. We say x1, let's call the function x1 equal input, let's say input dot next. Good. We should use input dot next at most cases when we are dealing with strings. If we are dealing with integer, we use input dot next int. If we are dealing with double, we say input dot next double. But with these situations, we will use input dot next line because we have to enter two strings, right? So this is the first string. After we have entered the first string, the information should move on to ask us to enter what the second strings. So let's use input the next line for this tutorial. So we say input the next line and our semicolon. Here we go. Then the next statement also comes to say let's say south, and that was pretty fast. System.out.println and it asks us to enter the second string. Say what? Enter the second string Good. And we have this. All right, here we go. We have our permissions to enter the second string, and then let's take the information from the keyboard. When it has been entered, we say x2 and equal import the next line. All right, here we go. All right, so after writing all of our informations to be compared, the next thing we want to do now is the conditions. What the condition says to compare two strings, right? So the two strings we enter, user input has to be compared, right? So let's say conditions, and we say if x1 dot compare to x2 is greater than 0, what happens? Let's say the first string is greater than the second string. All right, so let's break it into two equal halves so we can have the next space. All right, here we go. So if user enter or input that is greater than the second string, this statement should be read, right? So let's say if user enter input that is lesser than the first string, another statement should come up, right? So we say else if, and we say string 1, and let's say else if string 1 dot compare to, let's say string 2 is less than 0, what happens? Then the conditions come out to say the second string is greater than the first. All right, here we go. Let's say not just first, but first string. Let's make it unique, guys. All right, now that we have this, we break it into two equal halves and we come down. All right, here we go. So after string 1 and string 2 has been compared, what if the conditions is like exact, like string 1 and string 2 are both equal? What happens? So let's say else, let's use else, and we say they're both strings are equal. Let's say equally equal. Let's use a nice word for them. All right, here we go. And let's break this guy into center. All right, we have our program. So at first we will run our program. Let's come here first and we run our program to get a result and to see if we have some errors. My compiler is actually loading, guys. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, so the message is here from the command line or the terminal. It says that enter the first string, right? So let me say book. Enter the second string, books. Let's say books, right? The second string is greater than the first string. Very good. Our conditions for the second string is good. All right, let's do for the first strings. Let's say book, books, and we say you can use any word. I just use a word that is very easy. And let's say book, but let's use some other word. You see the second string is greater than the first strings, depending on, like, now one thing I want you to understand is that sometimes you read the program and you have these kind of conditions. If you see it physically, you notice that this first string is lesser than the second string, but you won't recognize that you have some space. So if you like have some space within the keyboard wherein you hit some space, and if the space is more than what you hit, and with this one, let's say we compare, this one is 5, right? So we got 2 is 5, right? Now here is 3 strings, right? So if you hit the space key on a keyboard that is like greater than this number, then you will also have the conditions like printing for this one, and you will think like you have some errors within the program. So these are some things that sometimes when you are coding you encounter after you have written the program, and you notice that it's quite unique, and then you find different output. So you should also take this into considerations. So once you enter space, you will always have like the conditions is not exact. What if I didn't enter space? Let's say you, and let's say your, good, right? So you seen it now, it's exact, right? You seen it? The second string is greater than the first string, so you seen it. Now let's do for comparing the both string if they are equal. So let's say thank you, thanks, and we say thanks. The both strings are equally equal. So guys, this is all for this tutorial, and let's go into the code quickly. We declare first, we add our keyboard library from our extended library, yes, and then we give our public static void main method, yes, and we declare our two input, string 1 and string 2 are represented as s1 and s2, yes, and then I also ask the keyboard for some functions wherein I can enter some information from the keyboard, and once the program runs, this information will pop up first, enter the first string, right? And then if I enter the first string, it should move to the next line so that I will enter the second string, right? So I have the conditions here. The first condition says that x1 dot compare to x2 greater than 0. These conditions, like this statement, will be pop up. And then if this statement is like, if the second condition is less than, if the first condition is less than the second conditions, then you will also have this guy. So is if you have first string is less than second string, you will have these conditions. Now if both strings are equal, you also have this. So thank you guys, and we move to our next tutorial. This is all for this tutorial. Thank you. If you have some comment concerning this tutorial, then you can also comment below, or any of our tutorial within this course, you can comment below. Thank you, and let's move next to our next Java tutorial. Thank you.